What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of the Wolverine Live Recruiting Show. I am your host, EJ Holland. Tonight, we're going to be breaking down new predictions, flip targets, a big visit weekend, answering all of your questions. So make sure to hit the chat box and ask your questions. Before you do that, though, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos, from recruit highlights to podcast shows. Don't miss out. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free. And if you want even more Michigan recruiting information, head over to thewolverine.com today. Use the promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. Get exclusive information on everything Michigan recruiting, the transfer portal, basketball, so much more. You can find it all over at thewolverine.com. Plus, you get to be part of a great message board community with thousands and thousands of users. Don't miss out. We had the big recruiting weekend. Michigan's playing USC this weekend. There's no better time to subscribe to thewolverine.com. So use that promo code UM1. All right, guys, so the questions will be answered in the order in which they came. If you want to skip the line, you can donate via a super chat. Just hit that little box with the dollar symbol, and that money goes directly to my travel budget so I can continue to see top recruits around the country. I was just in Richmond here in Virginia, seeing Markel Dabney just posted his game highlights, which you can find here on our YouTube channel. So again, if you want to skip the line and donate, you can use that super chat button. And like I said, we will start in the order in which the questions came. Remember, each user is limited to 3 questions unless you use super chat. All right, customer service says, looks like you have a great relationship with Savion Hyder, the best in Take It. I think he means I have the best, I guess. Are you as close with him as you were Will Johnson? What makes you connect well with Savion? I was probably a little closer to Will. Will's a quiet guy too, but I think Savion is super, super private, where Will just liked having fun, even though he was kind of low key. I think Savion really, really likes to keep a low profile. So yeah, I would say I have the best relationship with Savion, and I do know him really well. There's a lot about Savion I probably don't know. He's just an interesting guy. He just likes to, take care of his own business, and he really just focuses on football and taking care of things in the classroom. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the reason I've been able to relate to him so well is simply because I've been out there many times. Obviously, I go out to see him, so I spend time around him and his family. I've grown close to the people around him, but also, like I said, just building that genuine relationship with him. Anytime I go out to see recruits, I think it actually helps that I'm not a Michigan fan, because I don't think they feel like I'm trying to sell Michigan to them. I think that they know I'm just doing my job and building that relationship with them. And I even told Savion and his family before they made the decision, like, I'll help On3 and Rivals live stream it, even if you don't pick Michigan. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here to help you guys. So I think that's it. I think that's kind of it with most recruits, really, is just being able to find some common ground and build that genuine relationship with them, and go out and actually see them and meet with them and talk to them and get to know them as people, and not just as guys that could play for your school. Like, I'm sure others on this beat or different beats go out and they see kids and they just view them as players that could, go to their school. And, that's never been my MO. I even texted like Jazeel Hart the other day and was just like, hey man, how's it going? Like, hope you're having a good season. So, it's the relationships I build with these guys. Like, I care about them as people, because I'm doing my job as a journalist as opposed to being a fan that covers the team. Customer service says, what are the chances that Michigan gets all of Monsoon Sales, Dakota Warren, and Quentin Burrell? What about the chances of adding EJ Holland, the first 5-star plus corner and receiver? I'm already here. I don't know if I would make much of a difference on the field. I'd probably run like a 100 meter at this point. But as far as, Michigan's chances with an elite receiver in 2027, I think it would be extremely wishful thinking to feel like Michigan would land all three of those guys. I think, in a really exciting scenario, I would say adding two of those three would be big. And I think the two of the three most realistic would be Dakota Grant and Quinn Burrell. I think Michigan has a lot of work to do with sales. I do think that he is the best out of that group. Dakota Grant was just on campus over the weekend. See his profile here is the number 36 overall prospect in the country. He's right in Michigan's backyard, has several connections to Michigan. I believe this was his 15th reported visit to Michigan. So there's some other competition there, but I think Michigan is in a really good spot with Dakota, and they continue to have the lead on the Rivals prediction machine. Quinn Burrell, Michigan's definitely in that top group. He was actually supposed to be on campus this weekend, but with the noon kickoff, things got shuffled around. He'll be on campus a little later this fall, but I think Michigan is right up there for him as well. So, I think best case scenario, it's two of the three. If Michigan can land one of the three, though, I think fans should still be happy with that. But man, I mean, if I were a Michigan fan, I'd really want them to see, or I really want to see them make a big run at sales. I mean, I think he's a 5-star guy all the way. Customer service says, would getting a Whataburger or an In-N-Out in Ann Arbor help with recruiting anyone we talked to about starting one of those franchises? I'm sure it would, actually. And you can talk to my good friend Andy Luedecke, a sponsor here on tonight's show. Are you a displaced corporate executive or wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Well, Andy Luedecke can help. Andy is a huge college sports fan and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy. Put your life and career in your own hands. Best of all, his services are 100% free to use. So what do you have to lose? Andy is your guy for everything franchises. You can contact him via phone at 404-973-9901. You can also shoot him an email at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. He will set up a Zoom call with you and talk about franchising options, which aren't just limited to Whataburger or In-N-Out. I mean, he can help you with any type of franchises you wouldn't even think of, like, I don't know, to selling cat construction vehicles could be interesting. Doing something just kind of out of the box. Andy is there for everything franchising. Or if you do want to get into the fast food game, Arby's just released steak nuggets. I don't know what kind of meat is used, but you could have an Arby's with some steak nuggets, and that sounds interesting as well. Anyway, hit up Andy. He is your guy at myperfectfranchise.net. All right, let's get back to the questions. Zachary Pizot says, any potential at getting some top 2027 DBs on campus for the game against Washington or Ohio State? Duvet Williams, John Meredith, Ace Alston. Yeah, definitely possible. None of those guys are scheduled to come in for those games yet. Duvet was on campus in the summer, and they would love to get him on campus in the fall. He'll actually be at the USC game, so he'll get a chance to see Michigan for the second time because he was at Nebraska when the Wolverines took down the Huskers. John Meredith hasn't visited at all. I mean, he's a 5-star guy. It would be great if Michigan can get him on campus, but I think that one's going to be a tough one. Ace Alston's been on campus in the past. He's an Ohio kid. He was, I think, last on campus in April, so getting him in for a game would be big. I would expect him to probably come in for Ohio State with him being an Ohio guy, but we'll see. I think Michigan has dropped off a little bit in that recruitment, so they definitely need to get him on campus this fall to get back into that top mix of schools. Zachary Pizot says, why do schools like Texas A&M get loaded visitors lists for what seems like every game? I don't understand what they have that schools like Michigan don't. That is a great question with an easy answer. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're a Texas A&M or you're a Florida or you're a USC, you have so much talent right in your own backyard where kickoff times don't even matter. When I covered Texas, every weekend was loaded. Noon kickoff, 7 p.m. doesn't matter. I mean, the Cotton Bowl, like that kicked off like at 11. At the Cotton Bowl at Texas and Oklahoma, the Red River Shootout. And schools alternated who they could host on visits, and that was always absolutely loaded. But I'll give you a number. For example, I'd have to look it up though, because I don't know it off the top of my head. But the state of Texas, I'm looking at it right now. The state of Texas has 44 recruits in the top 300 per the industry rankings. The state of Michigan, which is very strong in 2027, only has 44. Now, the state of Texas is big. It's not easy to drive everywhere, but it is much easier to do that than to fly out of Florida or fly out of Idaho to catch a noon game. So that's why those schools have these loaded up visitors. There's so much talent around their campuses. I mean, USC is in LA. Like all of Southern California's top prospects, or most of them, will be at this game. Like, it's just so much easier when you're a program that has a ton of depth as far as in-state talent and surrounding talent. Zachary Pizzo says, any flip updates? Yeah, I mean, obviously Michigan had 3 flip targets on campus over the weekend: Nick Abrams, Braylon Hodge, and Jamarion Vincent. I mean, starting off with the linebackers, Braylon Hodge, big riser in the rankings. He's committed to Michigan State. I think Michigan positioned itself as a true contender in this race after the weekend, but still some work to do there. I think he flips from Michigan State. I'm not sure that he flips to Michigan, but I don't think he'll end up at Michigan State. Texas is a big contender. Oregon is a big contender. Both of those schools still have a chance to impress him on his official visits, which are already set. So that one has kind of blown up recently. And I think he's still doing his due diligence and looking at all the schools that have come in as of late. But I think this weekend went well, but they probably need to get him back on campus for the game against Ohio State to be able to win this. Texas already had him on campus for a UV. Now they get him on campus for an OV after the Michigan OV. So I think it'll be a little tough to win. Nick Abrams obviously committed to Georgia, and I think a lot of people panicked because you saw people around the industry like put up stories right away on Nick, and they were mostly like text quotes, like he just responded via text. I actually waited until I think it was Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday night, I talked with Nick on the phone for like 20 minutes. And I also spent a lot of time on the phone with his dad that same night. And I think Nick's comments in my story, which you can find over on the Wolverine, accurately reflect where he's at right now. And his dad gave me a lot of great quotes on the record too, which you can also find over at thewolverine.com. I think this is not going to be an easy flip from Georgia, but I think Michigan checked a lot of boxes for him this weekend, from the way the defense played to NIL to the Ross School of Business, which is very important to a high academic kid like Nick, who wants to go into business, whose father is the CEO of a financial planning firm. So I think that Michigan did the best it could. He will be back at Georgia in 2 weeks. So ideally for Michigan, you maybe get him back a little closer to signing day for that Ohio State game. I mentioned it to Nick. He kind of just laughed. So nothing set in stone other than the visit to Georgia here in a couple of weeks. So we'll see. We'll see how that one ends up playing out. I think Michigan is if any school can flip Nick away from Georgia, it is Michigan. And then, Jamarion Vincent, top 150 corner, committed to Baylor. I have not been able to talk to him yet. Jordan Deck, who was committed to Baylor at one point, then flipped to Michigan. he was on campus this weekend as well. Jordan knows Vincent, and I'm sure was very involved in recruiting him. I was texting with Jordan here a little while ago, so I hope to get more from him on how he feels about Vincent. I think the visit in itself shows that there is legitimate interest. He's a Waco kid, which, if you don't know, Baylor is located in the city of Waco, Texas. But Vincent, like I said, friends with Jordan Deck. They actually trained together this summer. Lamar Morgan, Michigan secondary coach, is from Coppers Cove, Texas, which is about an hour from Waco. So there is a little bit of a Central Texas connection there. Yeah, we'll see how this one progresses. I haven't gotten a ton of intel like I have with Nick. So, we'll see. Michigan is involved with some other flip corners like Danny Odom, who's committed to Nebraska, and Kari Adams, who's committed to Notre Dame. So we'll see how the corner situation plays out. Tom says, I'm surprised that Michigan permits Julian Walker to visit other schools as much as he does. It sets a bad precedent for other verbal commits. I know he's a good player, but when is enough? Michigan has never had a no visit policy, and usually schools that do have a no visit policy, it never works out. And like Clemson has a no visit policy. That did not serve them very well when Michigan was able to flip Jordan Young last cycle. Notre Dame has or did have a no visit policy, and they almost always lose recruits late. So there's no point in really having a no visit policy. I think kids that are on the fence are going to make other visits. I think you let them take these visits, or you don't implement any type of no visit policy, because one, it's just naturally going to happen. And two, he is a top level talent. I think he's the second best defensive player in the class behind Carter Meadows. So I think it's worth the fight. And I think Michigan is going to do everything they can to keep him in the class. So let him go see North Carolina get blown out 35-3 at halftime, or whatever the score was. The bigger concern is obviously South Carolina, his home state program, where his father's on the strength staff. That'll continue to be a school to watch. North Carolina, not as worried about. But overall, Michigan, I feel like they think they can keep him, and they think Walker's worth the fight, and they're going to continue to try to, like I said, do everything they can to keep him in the class. Tom said, so many of your peers are humorless when they're with Josh Newberg on the Rivals recruiting show. He clearly enjoys having you on the show, given your humor and wit. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it. I've known Josh since I was a Cub reporter. So we have a good relationship in general, but yeah, everybody I think knows that I try to have fun. This is a fun business. I cover 18-year-olds. It's not that serious. I think everybody thinks that I am over serious about it, and I'm just an asshole in real life. And I'm always joking around. Like, I'm always making jokes and dancing and doing all types of weird stuff. And outside of this, once I'm done with work, I just right now I'm going to go walk my cat, try to finish up my Pokemon journey on my Game Boy emulator, and watch South Park. Like, that's it. I'm always just having fun. So it's all fun to me. Don't take it too seriously. Tom says, right now I have a Michigan State razor that just can't cut it. It's as dull as a doorknob. It's terrible. Do you have any suggestions? A sharp, impressive razor, perhaps? Well, yes, Tom, I actually do. Thanks to our other sponsor. If you are having a tough time getting into the franchising world, and you want to maybe just settle for some razors, well, we got you covered here with Dollar Shave Club. When you rep your team, don't stop at the jersey. Dollar Shave Club's collegiate razor handles combine grooming with glory, letting students, grads, and fans show their school spirit in style. From the sink to the stadium, shave with your school pride. Visit dollarshaveclub.com to grab your college handle today. And of course, go blue. You can sport it in style. You can take it with you and just show people, look at my cool razor. Man, I went to the Walgreens, speaking of franchises, I went to the Walgreens the other day, and these razors are ridiculous, man. It's like $15 for a razor. Now you can get this diamond grip handle with the customized maize and blue for just $8. $8. That's it, man. Like, what can you even buy for $8 anymore? I don't even think you can get a Happy Meal for $8, and you can get this for $8 right now. So if you have some scruffy facial hair that needs shaving like I do, make sure to get one of these. Apparently mine should be on the way. I hope. I need it. So get yours today. Definitely just throw the, I don't even know why you would have a Michigan State one to begin with, unless it was gifted by a cousin or something. But yeah, just go ahead and toss that out and order your University of Michigan Diamond Grip Handle Razor at the Dollar Shave Club today. All right, let's get back to the questions. Tyson Smith says, so I don't know what happened there, but Tyson Smith says, all right, EJ, let's cut to the chase. USC is soft. You wouldn't want to cover a team like that. Tell us why Michigan wins the game this weekend. Like I said, Tyson, I don't do staff predictions. That's a better question for our team writers, Chris Ballas, Anthony Broom, and Clayton Sayfie, who do a great job. If I had to say, I know USC secondary has been struggling. I think Michigan will be able to run the ball, but maybe put it in Bryce's hands a little bit more and just let him be the 5-star guy that he is and attack a secondary that's kind of been weak this season. Tyson Smith says, I saw Donald Tabron is on Wilfong's list of recruits visiting USC. I saw that too. That was interesting. Any concern there? What's interesting about USC and quarterbacks is that Lincoln Riley makes the offer personally, and also they haven't, I don't believe they've offered a 2027 quarterback or a 2028 quarterback. In 2027, they did with Peyton Houston, but he ended up committing to LSU. They haven't offered anybody since then, and they haven't offered anybody in 28. So I think they're really particular about who they offer at quarterback. I think once USC makes that offer at quarterback, that's the guy they feel like they can land. For a while, they were trending with Peyton Houston before he picked LSU. So if they offer Donald Tabron this weekend, I think that's going to be an interesting, storyline to follow. I think Michigan checks a lot of boxes for Don. He's been on campus on several occasions. He looks to Bryce as a big brother type. So, that recruitment's so far away too, like a lot could happen between now and 2028. But I think he is the guy for Michigan. And when Michigan, I talk about Lincoln Riley, he focuses on the guy. That's usually who he gets. But if Michigan focuses on a guy like they did with Bryce Underwood or Savion Hyder, they usually get him too. So, we'll see how that recruitment turns out. Like I said, Don's just a 2028, but he is definitely Michigan's most important target in 2028 early on. And for USC, it'll be interesting to see if he becomes the early top target there. I'm actually surprised they haven't offered Jaden Wade, who Michigan's offered in 2028. He's the IMG Academy quarterback. He's originally from California, but it seems like they're really interested in Tabron, so we'll see. Tyson Smith says, which California rapper do you like more, Snoop Dogg or Tupac? Well, I would probably go Snoop Dogg. I think Tupac is probably a better rapper, but RIP, he just hasn't been around for a while. And I feel like Snoop Dogg's still relevant, man. He's always just out there doing something. He's just seems like a cool guy. My favorite California rapper would probably be, I'd probably go with Eazy-E, to be honest. Ben Ricketts says, how many commitments from the state of Michigan do you think Michigan will land in 2027? I would say like 4. Luis Esposito's already committed. I think they have a really good chance at getting Ricardo Kitchen. Wilfong joined me in a prediction here this weekend. I think they have a really good chance at getting Dakota Warrant. I think they have a great one at getting Jameer Henry. I think they could take another. So, you could see upward anywhere from 4 to 6 in-state commits. It's really a strong year in the state of Michigan. And I think Michigan will capitalize on that. This cycle, they worked from the outside in. So they recruited nationally and then spot recruited around the Midwest. I think this coming cycle, 2027, they will work inside out, in which they will make the Midwest and specifically the state of Michigan a top priority before really expanding nationally. Ben Rickett says, do you think Michigan will take 2 quarterbacks in the 2026 class due to Brady's injury? If so, who could you see them adding to the class? It's definitely going to be something to monitor. I think I was going to write something today, and then I thought it might be in bad taste just because, first of all, I've been very critical of Brady Smeagol even before the injury. He wasn't having a great senior season. He was dipping in the rankings, and I felt like he was a limited prospect. But I think you hate to see a kid suffer that type of injury, especially when you're only a couple of months away from enrolling in college. So I think it's a crappy situation for Smeagol and his family. So again, the evaluations, they're never anything personal. So hopefully he recovers well. I got to cover Donovan Johnson last cycle and saw his recovery from a torn ACL to battling back to the field to tearing his ACL again. Like, those situations are just really, really crappy. So, like I said, I was going to write something. I felt like it was in bad taste, so I didn't. But I do think it's something I'll have to address at some point. And it's something that we'll continue to ask about here as time passes. It's obviously a really critical position. I just don't know, who would be out there to really get, quarterback, such an NIL heavy position. I'm not sure Michigan is going to invest heavily in NIL for another quarterback, especially when you already have Peter Bork committed. So maybe they revisit like Nathan Bernard or somebody like that. Or maybe they look in-state at Tommy Carr if there isn't too much bad blood there. So, those are some names that come to mind, I guess. Salty Rock 2 says, Hi, EJ. Did you get a chance to talk to Jamarion Vincent after his visit? I did not. I talked about him a little bit earlier in this show, but we are hoping to catch up with him here at some point. Salty Rock says, do you know if Matthew Gregory or Maxwell Heiler are going to make it to campus for game visits this fall? Both of those guys are Pennsylvania guys. Matthew Gregory is scheduled to visit for the game against Washington. We talked about, Burrell, Grant, Sales, but Matthew Gregory is another big-time name on the wide receiver board, and a really critical name, in my opinion, because he has verified track times. I mean, he is an absolute burner. And like I said, I feel like Michigan should put a premium on speed. So Gregory should be right up there. I know he got some predictions to Penn State, but we saw Penn State crash out over the weekend. So not sure how relevant that is, even though he is a PA kid. Maybe the Michigan visit really moves the needle. We'll see how things go on the 18th. I think Heiler's pretty much a Penn State lock, and he never expressed too much interest. He's really, really good, but he just never really has expressed a lot of interest in Michigan. Salty Rock says, are there any recruits visiting USC this weekend that Michigan is also recruiting or could use a win to leverage for their recruitment? Yeah, I'll have a story on that over at thewolverine.com, but a couple of names to know. I talked about Donald Tabron, Duve Williams I talked about earlier in the show as well. Honor Favale Johnson, he's one of the premier safeties in the country. He's supposed to visit Michigan this fall. He will be there. He's another speedy track guy, and Lamar Morgan has recruited premium track kids. You look at Shamari Earls and Kainoa Winston. He really values speed on the back end, and Honor definitely brings that. So those are a handful of guys that will be there. Ace Alston, who we talked about earlier too, he will be at USC this weekend. So a decent little group there that Michigan can impress. Ryan says, with Brady Smeagol injured, do you think Bork could reclassify to 26 since he is already 18 years old right now and would be 20 at the start of his freshman season? I think it would make a lot of sense. I don't know if there's been any discussions about that, But it's definitely something we'll ask Pete. I know when I had very brief discussions with him about it, it'd be before the Brady Smeagol injury. He had no plans to reclassify. Maybe this changes things a little bit, but I think he was pretty happy being in 27. But yeah, I mean, he goes to a New England prep school. I think technically he could do it, and obviously he's of age. Ryan says, do you think we'll spend big money to try and get Danny Odom? It will take a huge amount to flip him from Nebraska. He was a silent commit to Ohio State in the summer until Nebraska came in with a massive offer late. I mean, it really depends how they feel on other corner targets. I think they'll invest in NIL for a corner for sure before signing day. Will it be Danny Odom? Will it be Jamarion Vincent? Will it be, even higher with a Kari Adams or a Hayden Finney or Devon Benjamin? I don't know. It really depends on how they feel with some of their other targets. I would rather spend a massive bag to flip Kari Adams from Notre Dame. Sean O'Hara says, what are your thoughts on the Jamarion Vincent visit and Odom? Talked about that earlier, but with Jamarion Vincent, I think there's definitely some legs there. I think the visit went well. I just haven't had a chance to talk to him. And with Danny Odom, I think Michigan is pushing to get him on campus, but it seems like he's been fairly firm to Nebraska. We'll see how things progress there. GG Dope says Brady Smeagol got injured. Yes, he tore his ACL or had I think it was reported an ACL injury. So I'm not sure if there's too much of a difference there, but yeah. Customer service says, what's the deal with Donovan Johnson? Did you think he had 5-star potential before his injury? Do you think he can still be a dog? Yeah, he did early on, and he was considered, a top 50 recruit nationally before he transferred to IMG. He actually is from Savannah, and he played at a school there as a freshman and looked the part of a 5-star, and then he transferred to IMG, and then he tore his ACL. Then he came back from it, and he didn't look as explosive as he did when he was younger. He was also an elite track athlete, and then he enrolled, and obviously he suffered the ACL injury again. So, I'm rooting for Don. He is a fantastic kid, one of the best I've covered. I really enjoyed my time with Donovan and his family, so I'm rooting for him. But we'll see, man. Back-to-back ACLs, that's tough. Let's go ahead and end the show, I guess. That was the last question. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all for joining me. As always, you can find more Michigan recruiting information over at thewolverine.com. Use that special promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. Get all your in-depth coverage for Michigan, USC, and a bunch of recruiting nuggets coming out of the big weekend. Like I said earlier, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos, and I will be back next week.